Hello. Today I will show you how to package a Java program into a client based installer, which you can then, as I said, give to the client. Uh, so here we have a Java program, different files, okay, under the same project. And as you can see, it runs when. So now we want this GUI based program uh, be turned into an executable for Windows, which can be given to the client, the end client. So first off, we're going to press a file, then export. Then we want to go to Java. So here it's going to be like this when you first do it. So you press on Java, then on runnable jar file. This is the first step. This is what you want. Next, now you want to choose the project that you want, the file itself, the main file that will open when the executable runs. And for me, it's this one. Then it wants to know where you will export this jar file, which is short for Java executable, runnable. So you'll go and you'll specify where you want it. I'll just, for this sake, put it in desktop and leave the name as is. Okay. Now it wants to know how we're going to handle the library that are in the project. So the best way is to package required libraries into the generated jar. And then so I think this was the default, but if it's not, use it and then finish. It's going to say export finish with warning, so it always finishes with warning, so it's fine. And so we have on our desktop a jar file, which if you have the required Java on your PC, you can run. But this is not what we want. We want a self-contained executable program that doesn't have to have Java in it. And I will show you the whole steps how to do this. So now that we have this jar file, we need to change it into an executable for Windows. So how to do this? We have a wrapper called launch4j, which I will include in the description. It's an application which changes the jar into a .exe, an executable. So when you open it, you have all these options. I will go through them with you. Uh, First off, you want to choose the output location, the name of the file. So we'll just call it test or YouTube vid.exe. Okay. Then we put in the desktop. The jar, which is the jar that we made. Again, in the desktop, you just choose the .jar file. Next, an icon, if you have one. Uh, I have one here just for example. It takes a .ico file, which is short for icon. So you can also change if you have a JPEG, of course, you can change it into a .ico. Different methods. I won't go deep into how to do that, but you can do it yourself. You can find out how to do it. Afterwards, we want to go through the other settings if you have any certain settings. So I don't generally change anything. Process priority basically means when the executable is running, how much priority should be given, idle, high, normal. Generally, a normal, if you do not know what that means. Class path, if you have a main class, you would click this and then specify the main class. Header is basically what type of application it is. So as I said, my one is a GUI, graphical user interface, but there's others like console and GNI and whatnot. So you can choose based on your application. Single instance basically means you can only have one instance of the program. So for example, you can have multiple instances of Google Chrome. As you can see, there's two here. But other application you cannot have if you multiple instances of the same application. I think this, for example, cannot have two instances for Eclipse. Yeah. So yeah, you cannot have the same instance. Uh, okay, this is where it's important for the JRE. If you want the client to not be forced to download Java and troubleshoot any problems that happen with that, then you want to include the GRE, which is which means Java runtime environment. So you'd include the GRE, which is basically all the libraries and everything that the executable would need to run. You would want to include it into the files themselves. So instead here, you just put GRE or whatever name you want to name the folder, which will include the Java runtime environment, which I will show in detail as we continue. So here you just change it and remember this name exactly, including capitals, because it matters. Set environmental variables if you want environmental variables for your applications. If you don't know what that means, also just don't add. Again, you can add a splash, but I've never done that, so I don't know how well it works. A version info, which is important. So add all your info here, and then like basically file version, free form, any copyright, all the data that you can that you want to have the application with. For here now, for now, I'm just gonna leave it empty, but you can do it. For this, you can add a custom message for different errors and mainly errors and exits. Okay, but as you can see, different options. You can go through all of these one by one. But the most important is these two, the icon, the GRE. That's all that you need to know. So then you would press on this button, which basically wraps the jar file into a exe. Again, if you're not going to use file version, close this. Okay, so wrap. Now it wants to save the config file. Just save it at desktop as con. Save. Okay, then it's saved. And as you can see here, now we have a. This is the config file, the jar, the config, and the exe. Now the exe still won't run because it needs the GRE. So let me show you how we can do this. So first, new folder, and we'll just call this the test. Okay, now we put our exe into it, and we need to add a folder with called GRE, but I will show you what folder that is and the required stuff. So if you have a Java here file running, then or you already should have a GDK or GRE on your PC. It's generally on uh, your systems. drive. For me, that's C. So if you go here, then this is the system drives, as you can see by the Windows logo. So you go there and then you go program files, Java. Generally gonna be somewhere on your files, maybe programs plus 86, but you just look around and find Java. For me, I have multiple GDKs, but you can choose any one of them, as long as it was the after the version that you are using in your program in your IDE, basically. You don't want something before that because newer older versions may not have all the functionality you need. So you'll just copy this and you go into our folder, the test folder, and just paste this. Okay. Now this is the GRE. This file is the GRE, what we want. But remember that we did not write it in the wrapper as GDK 1020, but we wrote it as GRE. So we rename this to GRE. Okay. Now this exe should work, but we need to first add any files that it requires to run. For me, it's a few files, so I'll just add those, which are just accessory files which are necessary for it to run. Basically, it gets data, or depending on the application, maybe it's a standalone application that doesn't need it. So I'll just get these files. Okay. So now this should work. And let's see. Yes, it does. The application works. It's an executable, and you can package this into, for example, a zip file and send it to your client, which would just unpack it and then press on the exe file. In the next video, I will show you how to uh, package this instead of like a zip file into a proper installer, which will install the program into a system folder or whatever you need. And then also things such as a desktop icon. So basically a way to package it professionally.